John Donwes.
The case against the regicides was nearing its climax.
Here before you stands one who sat and signed, who judged and condemned to death. But he has admitted as much, and his confession is recorded. We need not prove it further here. In return for his confession and for the many tears he has shed, he shall be spared the full rigour of the law in respect of his manifest guilt. But let us hear from him now what passed that last day in their High Court of Injustice.
Prisoner at the bar, let us have your answer.
John Donwes was an MP of long standing, elected to the House of Commons before the Civil War. In the great clashes between King and Parliament, he played no recorded part. He was first and foremost a businessman. During the Civil War, he made a fortune selling confiscated royalist estates. His role now was to reveal what happened when Charles I at last offered a compromise to his accusers.
My lord, I was thrust into that number, but never was in consultation about the thing. Never did I know of His Majesty's being brought to London till he came. Then they said I must take my share of the business. So I came in. On that day, His Majesty, with a great deal of composedness and wisdom, told them to this effect: because you are so ready to give sentence, I think it fit that I let you know that I have something I desire to speak of to my Parliament. Something which will be satisfactory to you all, and will be for the immediate settlement of the kingdom in peace.
A hasty sentence once passed might sooner be repented than recalled, and therefore I do desire that you will hear me. And if you will, I doubt not, I shall give satisfaction to you all here, and to my people after that.
Have we hearts of stone? Are we men? We must hear him.
What ails thee? Are you mad that you cannot sit and be quiet?
I cannot be quiet. I cannot. Mr. Lord President, I would speak. I am not satisfied to give my consent to this sentence, but I have reasons to offer to you against it, and I desire the court may adjourn to hear me.
Well, sir, perhaps you will now tell us why you have put this trouble and disturbance upon the court.
I desire not his death, but his life, that the nation may be settled in peace. What would you have? What would you have? I cried. You said that after such a long and bloody war, His Majesty would never agree to any concessions as might secure the Parliament's party. Now, the King is pleased to offer to Parliament such things as should be satisfactory to us all, and I say we should hear him.
So then, we now see what great reason and grounds this gentleman has to hinder our business here today. The bottom of it is this: he would save the life of the king and would have us hear what he is now pleased to offer. Plainly, he does not know what others here know too well. We are dealing with the hardest-hearted man that lives upon the earth. Nothing he has to say is worth the time spent in the hearing of it.
My Lord General, if some good may come...
Some good? Good come from this man against whom the Lord has witnessed.
The Lord has witnessed indeed, but there must always be some found who would be either skeptics or infidels.
Come, it is not fit that the court should be hindered from their duty by one peevish man. Let us be about it without any more ado.
Sir, the charge has called you tyrant, traitor, and murderer, and a public enemy to the Commonwealth of England. The court finds the prisoner at the bar guilty as charged. Clerk, read the sentence.
Will you not hear me a word, sir?
You're not to be heard after the sentence.
I may speak a sentence by your favor, and I may speak...
Judge!
By your favor, a sentence, sir! By your favor, hold!
Justice!
Hold a little. I say... Not suffered for to speak. Expect what justice others will have.
Mr. Donwes, there is one particular, that after so many convictions, yet you signed the death warrant.
What those times were. How impetuous the soldiers, how not a man dared disown them or speak against them. You, that are my judges, I beg you, look back and consider. Government was tossed and turned and tumbled. I did not know which way to be safe.
So, my lord, we come to it at last. That dark hour when the king died. And here before you one last witness who, though he played his part in the tragedy as one of the king's guards, yet through some small kindnesses and consideration shown towards his late majesty, has earned pardon. You shall hear from him now the manner of the king's martyrdom.
Matthew Tomlinson, once a colonel in Parliament's army.
That morning of the day the king died, when we came to the scaffold, I went as far as to the entrance upon it. There was the block and axe lying down about the middle of the scaffold. The king upon the scaffold looked a little while about, but seeing that the crowds were held at some distance, he turned about to me and began to direct his speech to me.
I must tell you, the freedom and liberty of the people consists in having government and laws by which their life and goods may be most their own. 'Tis not for having a share in government. That is nothing pertaining to them. A subject and a sovereign are clear and different things. And 'tis for that, now, that I come here. If I had given way to an arbitrary way, to have all the laws changed according to the power of the sword, I need not have come here. Therefore I tell you, I am the martyr of the people.
Is there any more from this witness?
Nothing, my lord. The king was brought to the block. He gave the sign. The axe fell. Such a groan came from the crowd as I'd never heard before. Never wish to hear again.
It took just over a week to try the 29 regicides. All 29 were found guilty. 10 faced the ultimate penalty, including Thomas Harrison, John Cook, Hugh Peters, and Daniel Axtell. "19 regicides had their death sentences commuted to life imprisonment, including John Donwes and Henry Martin. Donwes lasted just 6 years locked up in the Tower of London, but Martin survived as a prisoner for 20, until he finally died insane. Just 8 years after Martin's death, Charles II's brother, King James, was deposed by Parliament. His throne was offered to a Dutch prince, William of Orange, in return for a Bill of Rights guaranteeing fundamental freedoms. Parliament and the Crown were now in business together. And so some of the principles that the regicides died for became cornerstones of the system of government called constitutional monarchy, still with us today.
We were not traitors, nor murderers, nor fanatics, but true Christians and good Commonwealth men, fixed and constant to the principles of sanctity, truth, justice, and mercy, which the Parliament and army dared and engaged for. We sought the public good and would have enfranchised the people and secured the welfare of the whole groaning creation if the nation had not more delighted in servitude.